From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Adam Hushin. Thank you for joining us. Tonight, a look back at our stories from our Borderlands team. From a call for better vetting for Customs and Border Patrol officers to hemp production on the Navajo Nation.
Back in July, a 15-year-old migrant girl alleged a male Customs and Border Protection officer sexually abused her at the Yuma Border Patrol headquarters. That allegation is one of several that have materialized against the CBP officers in different migrant detention centers across the country.
Now, a Phoenix-based group is demanding Border Patrol improve its vetting practices for officers. Cronkite News reporter Marcela Baeta went down to Yuma to hear what Border Patrol had to say. Marcela?
As of 2017, 7 sexual abuse allegations have been reported by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Now, this number is lower than previous years, but the coalition says that change is still needed.
Yes, that's right. They need to do their job.
A job that entails protecting and monitoring the border and not, as these activists denounced, allegedly sexually assaulting several migrant children in detention.
If the sexual abuse did occur, it is a crime.
Activists calling on Border Patrol to better vet and handle these alleged misconduct incidents. One of them includes an abuse allegation made by a teenage migrant girl against a Yuma Border Patrol officer this summer.
What will they do in the future to prevent this? What's the vetting like for their employees?
Border Patrol officials argue there is a vetting process in place and that one alleged incident is not an accurate portrayal of the agency as a whole.
Any type of incident like that, any allegation like that is a blemish on our agency, and it's really a slap in the face to the agents, who are out there working hard and out in the heat every day doing what they do to protect the communities.
According to the latest data made available by Customs and Border Protection, in 2016, 16 allegations of abuse were made, with 7 being documented in 2017. In addition, private companies contracted to house detained migrants have also faced abuse allegations. According to the Office of Refugee Resettlement, there were 49 allegations reported to the Department of Justice between 2016 and 2018. One of the facilities mentioned is Southwest Key, which operates 8 detention centers in Arizona. For now, CBP says they are focusing on any issues that may exist within their own officers.
Border Patrol as an agency, we definitely want those things investigated to the fullest extent.
I want my Border Patrol officers to stand up, protect their families, and by protecting their families, they protect other people's families. That's an honorable job.
According to Border Patrol, these alleged sexual assault accusations are still being investigated. Live in the control room, Marcel Baeto, Cronkite News.
Earlier today, ICE invited media to discuss how they've been detaining undocumented immigrants at the border.
I headed to the Department of Homeland Security to get an inside look at how they enforce their immigration laws. In discussions about the border and immigration, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Office, more commonly known as ICE, is often seen in a bad light.
There's a lot of information out there that says that we're the bad guys.
Earlier today, Albert Carter, a director with ICE, spoke about some misconceptions people have. Many of these were issued in a statement earlier this month. One misconception involves raids.
ICE does not conduct raids. We conduct targeted enforcement operations.
That means they do not do anything without probable cause. Another misconception is the use of warrants. But his main message?
The message is that we're human.
Carter added his team was greatly affected by the impact that enforcing the law had on the community. However, local activist Salvador Reza, a local pro-immigration activist, said he believes ICE is acting inhumanely.
Well, in the first place, separating a newly born from their, or 3-4 year old from their parents, that's cruelty to begin with. That's not compassion.
Carter disagrees and says that the job ICE does is hard, but necessary.
But at the end of the day, we're doing our jobs, and we're doing it compassionately.
Our big story tonight, President Trump's administration considering drastically cutting the number of refugees allowed into the U.S. for this upcoming year.
The administration has already historically capped the refugee resettlement program at 30,000 refugees, But now there's talk the cap could be as low as 0, making it so no refugees would be granted access into the U.S.
I spoke with a local humanitarian group on how this could affect refugees attempting to find safety in Arizona.
The number currently is already at a historic low, and it's too low. Continued cuts are unfair, they're inhumane, and they're strategically irresponsible.
As the Trump administration weighs its next move, around 30,000 refugees already in the process of being resettled in the United States can potentially be facing an uncertain future.
They're survivors of torture that can't find safety in their home country or in their countries of first refuge. They're religious minorities fleeing religious persecution.
The current cap for the number of refugees admitted into the U.S. every year stands at 30,000. That's already a steep cut in comparison to the 110,000 per year when President Obama left office. In October 2017, the Department of Homeland Security announced a tightened vetting process for refugees, including increased data collection to more thoroughly investigate applicants, better information sharing between agencies to identify potential threats, and new training procedures to strengthen screener ability to detect fraud and deception. According to the International Rescue Committee, Arizona has been one of the states that's taken in the highest number of refugees. Arizona Department of Economic Security numbers show that by last month, more than 1,200 refugees had resettled into the state. Cronkite News reached out to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, but they would not comment on the record. However, according to the Immigration Nationality Act, quote, the number of refugees who may be admitted under this section in any fiscal year after fiscal year 1982 shall be such number as the president determines. End quote. Because the decision ultimately is in the hands of President Trump, local and state lawmakers are calling on him to actually increase the cap. Through this letter, they urge your administration to resettle at least 95,000 refugees in fiscal year 2020. The letter is signed by 35 lawmakers from Arizona alone. While the United States has a history of opening its doors to those who are fleeing war and genocide, there's much uncertainty on what will happen next.
It's up to us to continue that legacy that has been going through the past generations, to continue to keep America's doors open to folks who are fleeing that violence and persecution.
Now, even though President Trump does have the power to enact this new cap, the Immigration Nationality Act does state there needs to be appropriate consultation and justified by a humanitarian concern or in the interest of the country before any major adjustments can be made. During the first 6 months of 2019, Arizona ports of entry saw fewer pedestrians crossing than in previous years. That's according to the Bureau of Transportation Statistics.
And while commercial truck crossings were actually up, the number of pedestrians coming and going between Arizona and Mexico was down 12% compared to the same period last year.
Cronkite News reporter Frankie McClister went to Nogales and explained some of the reasons why. Frankie?
Well, that lower number of pedestrians crossing from Mexico into Arizona is starting to affect those businesses because those businesses rely on those pedestrians to be their customers.
Sometimes it's 2 minutes, sometimes it's 0. Sometimes you just walk up, and sometimes it's all the way up to the train tracks, which is usually like 2 hours.
Arizona resident Daniela Minerva frequently crosses the southern border, while her Mexican husband lives on the other side as he processes his immigration paperwork. It's a commute by foot that can be unpredictable, forcing her to plan her day around it.
It just doesn't feel like it should be that slow, you know?
Business owners say their wallets are also feeling what they describe as a slowdown in the amount of foot traffic crossing the international border. Rebecca Castaneda works at Cheese, which is a store located just feet away from the Nogales port of entry.
Every year, it's less and less. It's more down and more down.
Bruce Bracker is one of Santa Cruz County's supervisors and says Customs and Border Patrol being understaffed is one of the main reasons why wait times at the border can stretch for hours.
I know you've spent some time in downtown Nogales and you're seeing, a lot of store closures and just not a lot of people on the street. You used to see people shoulder to shoulder on the street, especially on the weekends.
CBP says there's a multitude of reasons for the drop in pedestrians crossing the border. They include the overall U.S. economy, the value of the Mexican peso, border violence, travelers opting to enter the U.S. in cars instead of walking, and pedestrian commuters joining trusted traveler programs and using the SENTRI also known as Century car lanes.
It's wait time. So if you have a favorite store and you go in that store, but that store started making you wait half an hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours to check out, how long would that be your favorite store? Probably not very long. You'd find someplace else to shop.
That's how it is. But you have to just get used to it because that's how it is.
Well, and the dynamics between crossings between Arizona and Sonora are the dynamics of a pedestrian crossing between Arizona and Sonora is a great representation of family and economic ties between the two states. At the digital desk, I'm Frankie McLister, Cronkite News.
A little less than a month ago, Cronkite News went to Yuma to speak with members of a migrant advocacy coalition who alleged abuse on behalf of Border Patrol agents towards detained migrant children. Now the same coalition is voicing their opinions against another agency, the Arizona Department of Health Services, and their connection to private companies that are contracted to house migrant children. Cronkite News reporter Marcela Baedo was there and tells us about what they said. Marcela?
Uncage and Reunite Families Coalition took to the Arizona State Capitol today to announce their list of concerns against the Arizona Department of Health Services in regards to their state licensing for privately owned detention centers.
How many children are being traumatized?
A question activists with the Uncage and Reunite Families Coalition are asking the Arizona Department of Health Services, who they say refuses to provide this kind of basic information to the public. One of the most well-known private operators is Southwest Key, with 8 centers in Arizona.
Texas-based Southwest Key operates the largest number of private shelters, not only in Arizona, but in the entire country.
Lori Rosales, a retired AZDHS employee, agrees with the coalition's stance to push the department to have better oversight over the treatment of migrant children at these privately owned centers.
They need to vet better the people they bring on board so that there isn't the physical, emotional, sexual abuse that they've been condemned for.
On their website, Southwest Key explains the process for vetting and hiring new staff. Southwest Key conducts thorough background checks of all prospective employees who apply to work in our shelters and complies with all required background checks and fingerprinting laws in each state in which our unaccompanied minor shelters operate. On the AZDHS site, one can find reports documenting some of the citations Southwest Key has received in the past few years. Infractions range from not administering medication properly to not having on-call staff. We also reached out to Southwest Key, who responded they need more time to clarify what exactly the allegations made by the coalition entail before they can comment publicly.
Now, for the Arizona Department of Health Services, they were not able to send over a response in time for this broadcast, but Southwest Keys just sent in and emailed us this statement that says, we have worked closely with ADHS to ensure our policies, procedures, and physical environments fully comply with the state's licensing requirements and have demonstrated that compliance by successfully completing full on-site audits at all of our licensed facilities. We immediately self-report any incident in our shelters and work cooperatively with all regulatory bodies to ensure corrective action is taken when needed. Live in the control room, Marcela Baedo, Cronkite News.
Our big story tonight, the Supreme Court making a decision that will have huge repercussions for those looking to come to the United States and seek asylum.
Cronkite News reporter Frankie McLister got reactions and can tell us more. Frankie?
Yeah, guys, immigration advocates say that this is a huge blow to their effort of maintaining a process that has been outlined for years by international law. And on the other hand, the White House argues that this will assist them in bringing order to what they call a crisis at the border.
It's a huge victory for the Trump administration. What they want is for people from Central America to simply die in their own countries.
Strong words today from Phoenix immigration attorney Ray Ybarra Maldonado. A Supreme Court decision late Wednesday allowing nationwide enforcement of a new Trump administration rule preventing most Central American migrants from seeking asylum in the United States.
The result of this decision is that the Trump administration can flat out deny the opportunity to present an asylum claim for someone from El Salvador, Guatemala, or Honduras simply by the fact that they didn't ask for asylum in Mexico or in Guatemala, if they're from El Salvador or Honduras.
This is a huge shift in asylum policy for the United States. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, just one of 2 dissenting judges, writing, quote, "Once again, the executive branch has issued a rule that seeks to upend longstanding practices regarding refugees who seek shelter from persecution," end quote.
It's a drastic change in asylum law, which is very clear and says all people that are here in the country have the right to apply for asylum. And it makes it so that people from Central America can have their cases denied immediately without having the opportunity to present information to an immigration judge.
For his part, President Trump tweeting, "Big United States Supreme Court win for the border on asylum." The ACLU of Arizona releasing a statement saying, quote, "This is just a temporary step and we're hopeful we'll prevail at the end of the day. The lives of thousands of families are at stake," end quote. In the past, the ACLU has filed suits to prevent such policies. However, United States Citizenship and Immigration Services Acting Director Ken Cuccinelli says lawsuits will not deter them from moving forward.
Well, because we're right, one, we're implementing the president's policies, and he's made it very clear from day one, frankly before day one, when he was campaigning, that he intended to be forceful and aggressive in this space from a policy standpoint, and he has been.
And according to Maldonado, this policy takes effect immediately. In the Broadcast Center, I'm Frankie McLister, Cronkite News.
CBD products are everywhere right now, and the growing trend isn't only fashionable, it's also big business.
Cronkite News reporter Marcelo Baedo spoke to one Navajo leader who has jumped at this opportunity. But some within his own tribe are saying not so fast.
It's important to clarify that hemp and marijuana are not the same. Even though they come from the same plant, marijuana is a recreational drug with a high THC percentage, while hemp is an agricultural crop and has less than 1% of THC. Industrial hemp is used in countless products, ranging from fabrics to lotions to oils and even dog treats. And the hemp industry has grown dramatically. It's projected that hemp-derived CBD products generated around $1.9 billion in 2018, and it's projected to grow to $20 billion by 2024 in the U.S., according to BDS Analytics, a company that keeps track of data on the hemp industry. Last Thursday, and for the first time ever, the United States Department of Agriculture is implementing interim regulations on hemp production for tribal lands and states. We went to Shiprock, New Mexico to see how this industry is already impacting the tribal community. In the heart of the Navajo Nation, not far from the Four Corners, millions of hemp plants are growing, many of them ready to be harvested. It's the first time this kind of plant is being grown on such a massive scale on the Navajo Nation. It's happening right now in Shiprock, New Mexico, all under the watchful eye of Dene Benally. He says hemp will help in providing the Navajo community with a natural alternative in health and wellness products.
Doing this project, I really got to know what our people are really made of. You know, what type of skill set, what kind of issues we're dealing with. Alcoholism, methamphetamines, opiates abuse, and I've got to experience and seen through a lot of the workers we've had on our farms.
For Harlan Joe, who's dealt with substance abuse, he says he's found a second chance at life on the farm where he manages workers harvesting.
I used to be an alcoholic too. Used to be on the streets, drink around, Shiprock. And when Dene told me to take over, changed my life, you know.
This hemp will eventually become the main ingredient in Navajo Gold, the CBD company Benally started in early October. Hemp plants like these are turned into lotions, oils, and even edible gummy bears.
It doesn't have to be smokable.
Navajo Gold employee Anthony Lee calls himself a plant health advocate and says the Navajo Nation is an ideal place for the production of this crop.
Making hemp accessible for this community has a lot of benefits. We have land and we have water. For instance, we only use about 20% of the farmlands located along the San Juan River.
According to Benally, there's about 300 plus acres here. That's about 6,000 to 8,000 plants that he hopes to turn into products for his wellness center.
And those 6,000 to 8,000 plants are just per 1 acre of land, meaning that Benally and his farmers are growing anywhere from 1.8 million to 2.4 million plants on tribal land. But as these plants have grown, so have the legal questions, which is why the USDA is finally stepping in, implementing interim regulations on hemp being grown on tribal lands.
We have our teams operating with all hands on deck to develop a regulatory framework that meets congressional intent while seeking to provide a fair, consistent, and science-based process for states, tribes, and individual producers who want to participate in this program.
In order for the provisional rule to go into effect, USDA Undersecretary Greg Eibach says it must first be published in the Federal Register.
We have been told by the Federal Register that will happen on October 31st. It includes, as the Secretary acknowledged, a public comment period that will allow USDA to seek input on the rule as it is enacted.
These provisional regulations will impact farmers like Benally, who possibly may now have to reevaluate their planting and harvesting process in order to meet USDA requirements. Some of these include maintaining relevant producer and land information, accurate and effective sampling testing, implementing a plan for disposal and inspection procedures, submitting proper collection information, complying with enforcement procedures, and certification proving the state and/or tribe has the proper personnel and resources needed. Up until now, Benally and Navajo leadership have not seen eye to eye on all aspects of hemp harvesting on the nation. Navajo President Jonathan Nez says any company intending to produce hemp on tribal land not only will now have to follow the new USDA regulations, it also needs approval by the Navajo Nation.
In recent years, under the Farm Bill, the federal government delegated that to Indian tribes throughout the country. And Indian tribes, once they get the regulations, the policies develop, then they can, in turn, proceed in that type of endeavor.
Benally, however, says it's not up to the Navajo Nation to decide who can grow hemp and who can't.
We have a treaty of 1868, and that treaty identified and indicated, and when they provided properties to the Navajo person, it was to the Navajo Indian, the Native American Indian. It was not to the Navajo Nation. There was no Navajo Nation. That's where it's gotten so confusing over the years.
Benally says his company is providing job opportunities for nearly 100 employees in a community dealing with high unemployment. One of those is Delbert Etzity,
Cutting off the leaves, just getting the buds.
who's been working with the company for 7 months.
We proved them wrong. We're actually standing here and doing this right here just because we believed in something that couldn't be done.
As a leader of the Navajo, for the farmers, I'm not going to be in a position where we're going to start arguing with each other. We have to work together. That's all I realized, to get this going and take it to the next level.
Benally says his company will have no trouble meeting and even exceeding all the new regulations. USDA officials say they will use this upcoming 2020 planting season as a way to test drive the new interim rules. They're aiming to have permanent regulations in place within the next 2 years. In the studio, Marcel Bayeto, Cronkite News.
Each year, tens of thousands of migrants arrive at U.S. ports of entry seeking political asylum or hoping to stay for other reasons.
According to Customs and Border Protection, just last year, there were close to 400,000 apprehended at the southern border. But what happens to these migrants once they're in the United States?
Reporter Jody Guerrero spoke with one local organization working to provide health services to migrants and their children.
They call themselves Angels, and they've already opened their wings in Phoenix to help whomever needs it, particularly migrants of different nationalities.
These migrants just arrived after a long journey. An Immigration Customs Service bus dropped them off at this church in Phoenix, many of them exhausted. Angelica Ortiz from the organization 100 Angels helps treat migrants. She says she sees a lot of the same ailments.
Deshidratación.
Dehydration, headache, body aches, flu, cough. 100 Angels provides physical, mental, and spiritual health services for migrants.
We bring all the medication, the medical professional volunteers, we triage, we assess for an emergency, we provide our guests with the needed over-the-counter medication, vitamins, hand sanitizer, lip balm, comfort toys to the little ones, and a big smile.
These migrants are part of the more than 800,000 apprehended in the southwest border, according to 2019 statistics from Customs and Border Protection. One family traveled through Mexico, leaving their 4-year-old daughter at home in Guatemala. Cronkite News spoke to the father on the condition of anonymity, since their migratory status is pending. He says their daughter was really sick and they couldn't afford medical care.
Sometimes hospitals don't even have doctors, no medicine, it's very expensive.
100 Angels works in 35 shelters throughout Maricopa County, visiting and helping migrants in churches like this. Once migrants are processed at a port of entry, Homeland Security brings them to a detention center. After a few days, they arrive at one of the many churches in the valley that serves as a shelter. That's where organizations like 100 Angels come in. Migrants get hot meals and fresh clothes. Then they bring families in one by one for consultations with the doctor. For some, this is the best medical care they've ever received.
This organization is planning on expanding their services around the world to help communities in need. Live in the broadcast center, Jody Guerrero, Cronkite News.
That's it for this special edition of Cronkite News. Thanks for joining us. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.